All right, guys, we are here with the youngest of the four girls of LD and Gardis Crews, and that is Sherel um, Leavins now. It's Sherel Crews Leavins, and I wanted to sit down with her today and get her input on growing up down on the family farm in Gritney area. And so we're going to get that going today. And Cheryl, thank you for being with us and sharing your memories and your thoughts on growing up with LD and Gardis and out on the farm down in Gritney. And that's what we want our viewers to see. So with that, I've got a list of questions. We'll go through those, and we've done that with all your other brothers and sisters. And hopefully we'll get some of the same answers, or maybe not. But anyway, so with that, what is your actual full name as your birth certificate would read?
It's Cheryl, and it's spelled Sherel because there's a lot of different ways you can spell that. Middle name is Maxine Crews.
Sherel Maxine Crews, Sherel.
That's correct.
Gotcha.
I was in the 6th grade before I realized that it's not spelled Cheryl.
You were like Hewlin, because Hewlin spelled his Hulon, but the birth certificate was Huelon.
Right.
And he didn't ever know the difference of that until he went in the Air Force.
Right.
So y'all were alike there. So where do you know where you were born? Or excuse me, let me step back. Do you know how LD and Gardis named you? How did you get that Sherel Maxine name?
Okay, I was told that there was a traveling evangelist that came through the area when I was born. And my grandmother Crews, Daddy's mother, as she was referred to as Big Mama, she named me after that traveling evangelist. So therefore, I've always felt like I had a special place in God's heart.
Oh, so the Sherel Maxine, the both of them.
He was a brother. I think they referred to him as a Reverend Cheryl. I don't know where the Maxine came from, but I know it was a Cheryl.
Yeah, so Maxine. So we don't know where Maxine came from.
I don't know.
And as I was talking to Ricky, the baby of the group and the run, I called him, he doesn't know where Vaughn came from.
True.
And so we didn't know. And like me, I don't know where Scott came from. But anyway, but it's a pretty name, Sherel Maxine. So when were you and where were you actually born?
I was born July the 14th, 1953, and I was born in Hartford, Alabama.
Gotcha.
That's about it.
So Gardis had children all over Holmes County and Alabama.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Goodness gracious, yeah, that's something. I didn't know that. I didn't know you were born in Hartford. I didn't know that.
Yeah. Actually was born in the hospital. It was a little hospital.
It wasn't a midwife at the house.
No.
Oh, goodness. Well, and you said 1953.
Mm-hmm.
Gotcha. Well, do you know through the talking and sitting down with Papa and Granny, do you know the story of actually how they met?
My memory fails me right here on that one. I'm sure I probably heard it, but right now I can't remember.
Yeah, it was what I've been told by the other brothers and sisters is that they supposedly met at a brush arbor.
Brush arbor meeting.
Yeah. And that's what I've been told, and the story is that Gardis was the daughter of a Assembly of God preacher.
That is true.
Papa Burge, Barnes.
She was a Burge. Her maiden name was Burge.
Yeah, and so she was the Barnes. So that's what we've been told is that they met at a brush arbor there, and I kind of joked. I was like, well, she must have been something to get L.D. Crews around the church somehow,
That's true.
and getting him back into church, and she being the daughter of a preacher.
Right.
So that was that. She must have been something to get him.
That's true.
Get
That's
him
right.
around.
And I need to correct myself. I think I said Burge, but she was a Barnes, but her mother was a Burge.
That's right.
My grandmother was a Burge.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And she was a Barnes, and
Yes.
several Barnes around the Holmes County area. Well, I know it's hard to remember things as a child, and especially from that, 2-year-old to 6 years old. I mean, I can barely remember anything at 6 years old, let alone years before that. But talk to me about, from the age of about 6 years old to about 12 years old. What do you remember about those days out on the farm in Gritney? What things do you that stick out to you?
Well, I guess the gardens that Mama had when I first started to school, which was in the first grade. We didn't have kindergarten back then. Let me just interject this: that the first day of school, I was sitting in the back of the room at a table, and Daddy comes in. Of course, I was his little girl at the time. And he looks back there at me and starts laughing like he always did about things. And I just busted out crying. But anyway, that was his little girl had been turned loose from home and was at school and didn't know what I was supposed to be doing. But anyway, that was one of the little things that I do remember about the first grade. But getting back to home, coming in from school, Mama would always have something cooked. And, of course, we were always hungry. And to me, the best thing was sitting down, eating a cold biscuit with some butter beans that she had left from lunch or something like that, or going out to the garden and picking a fresh tomato off the vine and just eating it there in the field. It's just Mom and Daddy were very hard workers. We didn't always have what we wanted, but they saw that we had what we needed, which was a roof over our head and clothes on our back and food on the table.
Yeah.
They took care of us.
So you as you said that Papa was, or LD was at you in first grade, and you were in the back of the room, and he came in, and I'm just assuming that he might have been your bus driver too at the time, or was he?
No, he wasn't, but I cannot remember who the bus driver was. But Daddy was not at that time.
At that time?
He was not.
Yeah.
This was at Bethlehem.
Yeah, at Bethlehem. And that was some time. So do you remember, as getting off the bus and doing that, do you remember like all the chores? What kind of chores were you having to do at that time in life?
Well, of course, the times had changed when Ricky and myself came along, so things were different. They, just like today, times have changed.
Yeah.
But I do remember having to check the eggs, see if there was any of the chickens that had laid anything during the day. Checking eggs. We had a fireplace in the house. Going out to the fireplace, or not the fireplace, but out to the wood
pile.
The wood pile,
Mm-hmm.
and getting splinters, or even I've tried to chop splinters, and even tried to chop some actual wood, the oak wood or whatever, things like that we had to do, because that was only our way of heating at early on. But I think we moved in the block house in maybe 19 60, I think it was 59, 60, something like that. And we did have a fireplace, and we had a small heater, propane heater, in the living room and in the bathroom, and that was the only other means of heat that we had in that house at the time. And gas was expensive, and we didn't have a whole lot of money, so we depended on the fireplace a lot, to heat. But I can remember, especially in the wintertime, standing in front of the fireplace and getting real warm, and then running and jumping into bed and getting under the quilts. But that was just some of the, especially in the wintertime, and I guess I'm talking about that because today is a cold day.
Yeah, and I failed to mention we are, it's January the 10th of 2024 again that we're conducting this interview. So, but you said something that sticks out to me that I've heard when we moved in the block house. But before the block house, you actually lived at another location, probably a half a mile down the road, right?
That is true, and it was always referred to as the bungalow. It was a wood frame house, and I don't have a lot of memories of that except driving by there now. It's still standing. It's amazing because it has went through many hurricanes, and I don't guess the flood ever actually got into the flooring of that place, but there's been plenty of floods in that area.
So
but
you left the bungalow. You vaguely remember that, and moving into the block house because it was made of cinder blocks.
True.
The home was built. It was cinder blocks.
True. And I was probably 5 or 6, I guess, when they moved in there. But that's really the main house that I remember as far as growing up in was the block house.
The block house, and that house actually had running water too.
It did have, yes, thank the Lord, it had running water, because I really can't imagine what my mama went through at the other house, raising the 6 children that was born there, or 7, I guess.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I was there, but the running water, I can't imagine what she went through, washing clothes for all the children and keeping everything going that she did.
Plus everything else. Exactly. Yeah, that's right. And so you touched on it a little bit earlier, but that was where you went to school, and you actually went to school at Bethlehem all 12 years,
yes.
Right?
Graduated in 1971.
1971. Okay. Yeah. Well, I was about 3 years old then.
Yeah, you were a baby.
What if anything do you recall Elder Gardis saying about their education? Did you know much about what kind of education they had?
They had very little education. I believe Daddy probably had a little bit more than Mama did. He could actually sit down and read fairly well for maybe 3rd grade, maybe. I'm thinking that's right, but he always amazed me. He could actually figure math in his head quicker than I could, even with a high school education. But that's the way he learned to do things like that. And for him, and he later went on and served on the Board of County Commissioners, and it was just unheard of for someone without an education, more than he had, to serve in that capacity. Yeah. And from what I understand, he done well with it. Yeah. He was known as the overall man the first time that he ran, because he wore his overalls. But
and from what I understand, he was commissioner for 4, and then was out of term, and then was reelected another term.
Yes, that's true.
So that's what I understood of it. And Gardis's education was probably similar from what you know?
Yes. Well, my grandmother, Barnes, passed away early in life. And from what I understand, Mama was probably the oldest girl left at home, and so she had to finish helping my granddaddy raise her younger brothers and sisters. So she didn't have very much of an opportunity to get an education. She could write her name, and she could read a very little bit, but Mama done well. She done real well with the more education than what she had.
Right. Well, good. That's kind of what I've heard. So going to Bethlehem, and we're kind of moving forward a little bit in life. We're now out of elementary school, and we're moving into junior high and high school. And I know Bethlehem is a K-12, so it's all inclusive right there together. Wasn't many split buildings and stuff. It was all together. Do you have any fond memories of high school out at Bethlehem that you could think back on with friends, or anything you guys did that might have been a fond memory of high school?
Well, right now the only thing that comes to mind is there was a couple of my girlfriends and myself. We didn't have dates for our junior or senior year, but we dressed up just like we did, and we went together. And one of the girls, she lived what we referred to as across the river, which was south of the New Hope area off of Highway 2. Her name was Charlotte. Well, Coleman. That's who she is.
Mm-hmm.
Charlotte Hawthorne Coleman.
Yeah.
And she lived on a dirt road, and we got stuck in the sand. But we got out and went on to the prom.
To the prom.
We did. But, and I was on the yearbook staff at my senior year. And I would get to go out, and back then you would have to sell ads to help pay for the annual for the school year. And so we would go to different towns. We'd go to Geneva or Bonifay, or try to get some of the businesses to buy an ad in order for us to be able to print the
annual.
That's right.
Yeah.
And it was a fun time. It was very hard.
About how many? Do you remember about how many you had in your graduating class?
I think we had 36, if I remember correctly. We had about 36, which was a pretty good sized class for Bethlehem at that time.
Yeah. And that was 1971.
That's correct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Do y'all still have any class reunions at all? Or
we do. Yes. We just had our 50th class reunion. Well, just a few years ago, really.
Okay.
And we had a really good turnout, and it was good. And the girls in my class, we still try to get together occasionally, like maybe once every quarter or something, just to meet for lunch.
Mm-hmm. So at your time at home with LD and Gardis, in your time, and we definitely understand the span of time from the firstborn child of Francis to where you're at. That was 1939, I believe, that Francis was born.
Yeah, right.
And then you at 1953. Pretty good span there of change in society and change in the way things were done. Long gone would have been the mule and the plow, and we'd now be on tractors doing the farming and stuff. But tell me a little bit about your memories of I'm going to continue to say working on the farm, but because I think it's somewhere along that time that we still had farm life going on while you were on up in your teenage years.
Oh yes.
So what do you remember about what type of farming and stuff? So like growing up on the farm, what type of memories do you have in your teenage years of us? What type of farming were we doing and things going on then?
Well, definitely watermelons. That was one thing that Daddy done, and he done it well. but of course, Mother was out there with him. She made every step that he ever made.
Probably made more.
Well, that's true. Well, she did, without a doubt, she did. But yeah, that's the big thing. And he could grow some of the best watermelons that ever been put in the mouth, ever been eaten. But that was the main thing. Yeah, and no, I mean, Rick and I did not work probably, or maybe I should say I didn't work as hard as some of the older ones. Mainly because, and this is crazy, but mainly because I'm flat-footed. I did for a while. I would go to the fields. I would plant. I would hoe, work in the garden with Mama, whatever, until they realized that I had a problem with my feet. And if you're flat-footed and you ever walk in a lot of plowed ground, you know how painful that can be. And I remember one morning I had got up. I couldn't walk. I had to crawl because I had walked in plowed ground the day before. And Mom and Daddy saw the problem with my feet, so I really didn't have to go back to the fields, like everybody else.
Yeah. So you picked up a lot of house.
I did. Well, I'd like to think I did.
Yeah. Yeah. I guarantee you did.
Yeah, because you didn't sit around.
You didn't sit around.
Not with Daddy. Not at all.
Yeah, that was something else. And the other thing that we've learned throughout this is he was known also not only for the watermelons and the overall man, but he was known for what else?
Making cane syrup.
Making cane syrup.
Yeah,
that's right.
He did do that, and I did feed the cane meal some. There again, I strained my arms. I thought I had to push it through when it would just feed itself through, and so they never made me do that anymore. But I can remember. I can see Mama now standing over that pan. Those
Bats.
skimming that juice, and Daddy holler at her and tell her pull the fire, because it was the fire up under the furnace,
Yeah.
because they didn't want to burn the syrup that was going through the vat. And but so Mom would go to the end of the furnace and she'd get her rake and she'd pull that fire out from under there, But
keep it from burning.
Keep the syrup from burning. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Well, I we've learned a lot about that throughout these episodes and talking to some of the other brothers and sisters, and those are the two big things that really stick out is watermelons, and I think at one time they said the most he probably had was about 200 acres of watermelons, and I think the other one that came out of this was that I believe it was said that there was about 1,500 gallons of syrup made in a season.
Yeah.
In a season, and that was early on. Might have been even when you were really a baby when that was going on. But they really, the people around the county and farther out knew him for that.
Right.
As being very good at that. So
he would always hold the syrup up, and you could see the light come through it. It was beautiful syrup. And when I get homemade syrup now, I'll pick it up and see if I can see the light come through it. And most of the time, you can't see that; it's really dark.
It looks like sorghum instead of syrup.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. That's exactly what we've heard on this. Is that was something that hopefully you future generation folks watching this will say that your great grandfather was one heck of a watermelon man and a syrup maker. So next question I got for you is, at some point in life, I know you and Ricky and myself, I like to tell everybody that I was actually the 9th child, because I was, and and Gardis raised me from about age 6 on up, and but So at some point, when do you remember actually leaving the nest, if you will, or leaving home? About and what did you go do? Around that time.
Well, Daddy didn't want me to leave home, so and I was not in any hurry, I don't guess.
Yeah.
But I was 31 years old before I ever left home from Mom and Daddy. And when I got out of high school, I went to the Votech school in Chipley and took a key punch course, which computers had just began at that time. And I landed a job in Geneva at the cotton mill. And I was there for 28 and a half years. But when I turned 31 and was working at the mill, I just decided that I wanted something of my own.
Mm-hmm.
And I found a little house in Geneva, a little frame house on Live Oak Street. And I purchased it. Daddy didn't know what in the world that I wanted to do that for when I had a perfectly good house to live in with him and Mama, and it was tough. I mean, I didn't know what I was asking for when I moved out, but I managed, God bless me, and I was able to pay for that house and pay for my car, and I lived. Of course, I would go home every weekend and wash my clothes because I didn't have a washing machine. But yeah, I was 31 before I ever left.
Yeah, I didn't remember the actual age. I knew that you had stayed at home a little bit longer, but I didn't remember the exact age.
Right. Yeah.
But that's good, and it was a help to Granny and Granddaddy LD and Gardis with you being there, because you could help them, as they were getting up in age a little bit.
Yeah, and they did depend on me. I would drive Mama to town to buy groceries, and I helped them, pay the bills and things like that. Take her to her doctor appointments or whatever.
Now that when you said that really keyed something in my mind earlier when we talked with Ricky. And Ricky was talking about a situation. I won't give that away because everybody else has seen it and you haven't. But he was talking about Granny driving the old gray goose, the old gray Chevrolet pickup. It was I want to say it was in the 50s model at least, but I remember that old truck. And she'd drive it to the garden sometimes and all. But she never had a driver's license, did she?
No, she didn't. She did not. But she would drive around the farm and up and down the road a little bit. And you mentioned that gray goose. And when I mentioned that I went to the Votech vocational school in Chipley when I got out of high school, I drove the gray goose from the house up to the end of the highway to catch the bus that went to Chipley. And on these cold mornings, I froze. And sometimes I didn't know whether I was going to make it up there or not. But that's how I got to the end of the highway to catch the bus to go to the vocational school. But yes, Mama did not.
Yeah.
Mama didn't have any driver's license.
I just remembered that as you said that about you driving her to places to town and stuff later on. And I can remember me driving her around to some stuff, not as near as much as you did, but I remember that, and it just keyed me that she literally, I remember she didn't have a driver's license.
No, she didn't.
And never had one her entire day on this earth. So Gardis was special. She was a special lady.
Very much so.
So you told me a little bit about leaving and after the farm and moving up to Geneva and working your job here for 28 years and doing that. How do you think growing up under Grand LD and Gardis, how do you think growing up under them as parents, what sticks out in your mind of them helping try to prepare you for that moving out at that age and doing your own thing. What kind of values did you learn from them?
Hard work, and I'm sure some would not say, that I had to work very hard, but they instilled in you a work ethic. And here at 71, I'm still working.
Still working.
I am. Mom and Daddy loved us, and they
Yeah. It was a work ethic, and
they loved us.
they taught you right from wrong.
Yes, they did. Yes, they did. Yes,
The
they
good
did.
way or the hard way or the easy way, they taught you.
They didn't always go to church with us, but they did go some, and I can remember times that Daddy did go. He loved to play the piano. He loved to play the guitar.
Yeah.
And he would like me to sing with him. And me being bashful, I never wanted to do that. But oh my goodness, if he was here now, me and him would be singing the rafters.
Yeah.
But no, it's the fact that a good work ethic is and right from wrong.
Yeah.
You just if you, and they've made this comment so many times, if you make your bed hard, you're gonna lie in it. You're the one that has to lie in it.
Yeah. Yeah. I've never heard that one, but I'm glad I did now.
Really?
I didn't hear that.
Well, I can't believe the rest of them hadn't come up.
hadn't heard that.
That's right. If you make your bed hard, you're gonna lie in it, and that's true. That's true. And we as individuals, sometimes we bring things on ourselves, and the older we got, and Mom and Daddy's gone on, of course, but we can turn around if we want to. We can change our lives, with God's help.
Yeah, yeah.
But we can make it better.
Yeah, and not in my almost 57 years of life, I've definitely learned that you can. It's hard to sometimes forgive and forget, as they say, but you can. And the life here on this earth is so short that you can either live with that hard heart, or you can let that go and let that burden go somewhere else and be much more happier and live and love and learn. So
that's right. That's true.
It is what it is. Well, I got a couple more questions, and I know you got a couple things you want to say. But my other question is that you had a sister that's not with us anymore that passed away, and we, throughout all of these episodes, we're not forgetting Marie. But I wanted to kind of get your sense of your interpretation, your life of knowing Marie. Tell us about Marie and what you remember of her.
Well, I think I was like 21 when she passed away. We lost her in 1976. And Marie was always very jolly. She always had a beautiful smile on her face. I will tell you one little thing that I can remember is, Daddy was pretty strict with his girls.
Yeah.
But I was young, but I can remember this. Marie had been out on a date. Don't remember who it was, but she got home later than she was supposed to get home.
She missed curfew.
Yes, she did.
Woo.
And he had already left the house to go look for her when she came in. and she and I shared a bedroom. And she came in the bedroom. She was trying to find every pair of pants and panties that she could put on because she knew that her honey was going to be messed up when Daddy got back.
She was going to get a whooping.
But yes. But that I remember that one little thing about her. It's funny now. It wasn't funny then. But I don't think Daddy ever did whip her. I can't remember, but I don't think he did when he got back. But he sure talked to her.
Yeah.
But she was a jolly person, and I just want to say, because I know her kids are going to look at this, she adored her two children. Mm-hmm. She loved them to the bitter end. And little Larry, when she was diagnosed, matter of fact, she had been having some problems. I don't mean to take up too much time, but she had been having some problems. And I had gone down and was going to spend a few days with her. So me and her, the two kids, went down to SeaWorld. We had checked into a room down there, and she got to hurting so bad. And I said, well, we're not going to stay. So I we had just checked in, and I didn't know if we were going to have to pay for the night or not. But I went back to the desk and told the girl what had happened, that she was sick and that we just was going to have to go back to Ocala. And so they did not charge us for the room. And we headed back out to Ocala. Well, come to find out, she had the cancer. Mm-hmm. And that's what started her journey. And I believe that was in August. And we lost her in the following December. But she loved her two kids dearly.
Yeah, and that's kind of been the common theme that of course y'all didn't know what I was going to ask you in these talks and everything, but that's been the common theme, that she was a jolly, and she was a prankster and a jokester, that of the family type thing, and she was always that way. So we definitely missed her and wish she was still with us today, but we definitely not going to leave her out without talking about her, because she did mean a lot to Ariel. And I honestly I don't remember a lot. I remember going down to Ocala a couple of times with the family, and we would do a few things with them. It may be for a weekend type thing. So I just don't remember a lot about Aunt Marie, but I do remember when she got sick and passed away, because Dad and I did go down there. He took me with him to. And I got to see her in the hospital, mm-hmm. And I'll never forget that, right. And what cancer does to you. So I'll never forget that. But anyway, so we're at the point now that we're just kind of in the closing. So as there's I know there are probably some things you thought of that you want to say to the folks that are seeing this 100 years down the road in 2095 or whatever it is, that are viewing this, that might you would want anything else you want to be known. I'll leave it open to you. I know you had some things written down. I didn't know if you wanted to talk about any of them.
Well, first of all, I guess I'd just like to say, I love my family. And there is a song, and the name of it is She Loved. And I want my family to know that I love them. I do not have any children of my own, but I have helped raise, I feel like, because I've babysit a lot of my nieces and nephews. Closer to some than I am the others. I'd like to think that I helped raise you a little bit,
You did.
good or bad.
Yeah,
You know.
you did.
Yeah, I can remember wanting to pitch your head off sometimes, but you know, family is very important. And if you've got family, you need to cling to them. If there's anything going on in your family, try to make amends if at all possible. Whether it's your fault or whether you've done anything, if you know that there's any little thing that's between you and a person, whether it be your family, but especially your family, you need to try to correct it because life is so short. And I just don't know exactly how to explain the way I feel. But I just want my family to know that I do love them, and we're not as close as we used to be for various reasons. Life happens. Situations happen. But you know, we're adults now, and if we want to, we can overcome anything. And I've got a shirt on that says blessed. And beyond a shadow of a doubt, I am blessed because I was diagnosed with breast cancer in 2017. I am fine. God's blessed me so much, all of my life, I believe. But I'd like to say also, I'm the 7th of 8 of these children. There's 7 of us left. And the lifespan between Francis and Ricky, and we've still got 7 of us left. And there's so many families that don't. So we are all extremely blessed. And I just thank God for taking care of us like He has. I'll get off of this sad thing.
Yeah.
There's one little thing I want to tell about Mama before we quit.
Yeah.
Well,
I want to hear this.
Well, you'll remember this though. But it's sweet. It's sweet. Mama loved to work in her garden. She really did. It was work, but she loved it. And I think sometimes now that I'm older, that was her sanity. Because it got her away from the house. It was just her and her pea bucket or her tomato bucket or whatever. There was no young'uns running around. There was no LD around. It was just her and that field. And Herman. Do you remember Herman?
I remember Herman well.
Okay. Herman was her guinea. He was an only guinea. Like some people is an only child. Well, Herman was an only guinea. But now Herman loved my mama, and mama loved him. He would go to the garden with her and walk ahead of her picking the bugs, whether it was the peas or whatever. He would do that. And she would talk to him. And he would do his, I don't know what you call
the sound.
The guinea sound. I don't know what it is. But anyway, it was just like that they were communicating with each other. And then when she got through doing what she was going to do, she would walk herself back to the house, and there wouldn't be no Herman. Well, here you come. Here comes Herman, flying through the air, and he would perch on a fence post somewhere, close enough that he could see Mama. Well, that was a relationship like none other that I've ever even known about. Now, dogs and cats, but a guinea, it was unreal. But one day, he didn't like me. Herman, for whatever reason, Herman didn't like me. And he would run me when I would get out in the yard. like a rooster would run you, or and he would run me. And I was in the yard one day, and I had a hoe. And Herman started running at me. He was fixing to flog me. I said, "You're not going to do it today, buddy." And I took that hoe and I swung it and I swung it. And when I swung it, I hit him. And I like to died because I thought Mama was going to kill me. Because I thought that I had killed Herman. And she come out the door. Because he was just flopping. He was just flopping. I thought, oh, Lord, what have I done, Well, Mama was upset with me. "You have killed my Herman. You have killed my Herman." And the next thing I knew, Herman goes just flopping away. He's fine. But he didn't run me anymore. But Mama was ready to whip my hiney because I had hurt her Herman. But that was special because Herman loved Mama. Now he did.
Yeah, I thoroughly remember that, and my memories of him is that he was, as you said, loved her, but he protected her from.
He did.
If there was a snake,
absolutely,
in the garden, or if there was any kind of varmint that might threaten her. That little guinea would get after them in a heartbeat.
That little chattering sound that they make, he would let her know. Yeah, he would.
That there was danger.
Absolutely.
And
absolutely.
that was
It was amazing.
I totally remember that, and I remember her talking to him because I remember going to the garden with her and Herman right there with us.
Absolutely.
And that was just a really cool memory to have. That I wish we had. I don't think we've got any pictures of Herman.
Probably not that I know of, but
I'll find something out there that we can show these viewers of what a guinea looks like.
Exactly.
And how odd that was to have her to have instead of a dog or a cat or something.
True.
Had that guinea was her pet.
Right.
That was it.
The other thing about Mama that really stands out is, of course, anybody that knew Daddy, he loved to fish and hunt, and he would go fishing. He'd go duck hunting, turkey hunting, quail, dove, whatever. And 9 times out of 10, when he came home, he would lay down and take him a nap, especially after a fishing trip. And Mama would wind up cleaning the game, whatever he killed.
Yep.
And I can remember helping her clean these things, squirrel, fish, whatever. But she put her foot down, I guess, on the deer because she never, as I know of, she never helped clean a deer. Now she would cook it for him, but she never ever helped clean a deer.
Yeah,
but all that other stuff, we did it.
As you saying that, I don't ever remember seeing her out there in my days of seeing her clean a deer, but definitely, if it was a small game.
Oh yeah.
And the hog killings that we had, she was right in there with it.
Absolutely.
And that was fun, and we cherish those memories, and so I don't know if there's anything else you wanted to share, but
no,
I've asked mainly the questions I wanted to get answers to, and all, but we're thankful for your time, and we hope that this moves forward with the future generations that come along, and I'm proud to say that as I talked with Clifton, he is very fortunate at his age. I think he said he was going to be turning. Oh, I forgot what he's turning in April, I believe, when his birthday. But
hang on
I think
his birthday's in February.
February
February the 15th.
That he'd be turning 79 or 80. I forgot.
He's about 7 years older than me.
So, but he's very fortunate because he's sitting there with 4 generations of cruises in his line that are alive today.
That's true.
With his kids and stuff and great grandkids. And I'm proud for him on that and all. But anyway, well, thank you guys for joining us, and we're gonna sign out with that, and hopefully you've gleaned some good information from Aunt Cheryl today, and we'll continue on with the next journey. Y'all take care.